What's up, Broncos country, and welcome to another episode of the hottest, funniest, most thought-provoking, most interesting, most clever Broncos YouTube channel on the internet right now. Keep your eye on the ball. My name's Adam, and as always, I'll be taking you through all the topics related to Denver Bronco football. This week we'll be going into the draft, and we'll be covering a draft prospect who's been linked a lot to Denver lately. Who that is, tune in to find out. As also, we'll be talking about the Broncos offseason news and seeing with the team still being over the cap, if maybe there's a guy on the roster that they're looking at maybe letting go to make some of that, free up some money. And as always, we'll just have a good time talking about the thing that we love most, Denver Bronco football. As always, give me a like, give me a comment, give me a share, give me a view, buy me presents, and as always, let's just make a good show today. Before we jump in, I have gotten some feedback on my wardrobe, and I am going to just leave this to you, the audience. Do you like the shirt? And if you like the shirt, and if you like not having me wear Bronco-specific things to my Bronco-specific YouTube channel, then let me know, leave me a comment. If you like the shirt, awesome. If you don't like the shirt, same thing. Just be cool, keep it PG, and as always, let's jump into the show. So as we move on to the draft portion of today's show, we'll be looking at a guy that's been linked a lot to Denver lately, and that is Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. With all of our draft profiles, we're going to be looking at strengths, weaknesses, and where they could fit in as far as the Denver Broncos team. So let's take a look. So J.J. McCarthy obviously has a ton of pedigree, and that's one of the strengths that he brings to Denver. He is a redshirt junior who is coming off a undefeated junior season at Michigan where they did win the national title. McCarthy has been, this past season, was probably his most statistically consistent season, and also obviously with winning a national title and being the quarterback on that team, he is garnering a ton of interest, not just here in Denver, but also on the national level. Some of the things that I personally like about J.J. McCarthy are, I want to say, his pedigree. He comes from good stock. He has been a starter for at least the past 2 seasons. He also spent most of his freshman year being subbed in on certain downs and distances as a running threat package quarterback. So at least you know that he's not a flash in the pan, and he has been playing for some time now. You also, one of the things that I really like about him is his ability to extend plays. Now what I mean by this is that usually when his protection breaks down, which actually doesn't happen a lot at Michigan, he's very good at extending plays with his legs and finding open receivers from there. One of the other things I really like about McCarthy is the arm strength. Now I don't think he's on the level of like having a Jeff George type of but it's definitely above average. He's good at driving the ball to the perimeter. He's good at anticipation throws over the middle, and also he has pretty decent size. He did measure at the combine at about 6'3" and about 220 pounds. So you know he's not a little guy, and that he's able to. He has at least the measurables on hand to be able to withstand a 16-game NFL season, 17-game, sorry. Now to move on to some of the things that I don't like about McCarthy. Now, I have seen McCarthy play pretty extensively these last 2 seasons, and I made sure to pay attention to the playoff run this season. And here are some of the things that I'm not super crazy about. One, his game reminds me a lot of a guy that we just had in Denver who will now be an ex-Bronco probably by the end of this week, in Russell Wilson. And I say this because he still doesn't have the type of game where he can consistently make plays from the pocket. Now, I know what you're saying. Adam, the game is changing. You don't need to be a statue back there and make reads from the pocket and blah, 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 blah. That's all fine, well and good. You're not going to be able to manufacture plays where you can get out onto the perimeter and throw the ball, or throw the ball when protection breaks down. Too often, Sean Payton and his critiques of Russ always seem to go back to that he just couldn't find open guys and run the offense the way that he wanted to from the pocket. And I see those same characteristics in McCarthy. Another thing that I'm not crazy about, and while I did mention that is the strength, it's also a bit of a weakness too. And when I talk about production, for a guy that's arguably going to go in the first round and in the top half of the draft, you don't see the type of production that you would typically see with another quarterback, like especially like a Bo Nix, a Michael Penix, or a Caleb Williams. You look at McCarthy's production, compare it to those guys, and it's not even close. Plus, I felt like from watching Michigan a lot this year and from watching the playoff run, that McCarthy wasn't necessarily the guy. He wasn't the guy always making the play, but he was much more of a facilitator. Michigan had a great running game that they ran, that they leaned heavily on. Michigan has a great offensive line where he was rarely, if ever, touched. Michigan will also probably have a wide receiver drafted in the first round in Roman Wilson. These are all things that contribute to him more being kind of a point guard, if you will, in the offense versus being the whole offense. And I don't know if you put him in another situation where he's not going to have those same offensive comforts, and he doesn't have to like make plays on his own, then he's going to really struggle. And I combine those two things, and I think that McCarthy's production and where his role in the Michigan offense was much more comparable to like a mid-round pick than versus being a guy that's going to go in the top 15. So as what I always say is, don't ever judge a draft pick by his highlight reel. A lot of guys will get online, find highlight reels of a player, and then fall in love with the guy. And unfortunately, I think Broncos country is really doing this with McCarthy. I don't like JJ McCarthy. And here's the thing, and sometimes when I say I don't like somebody, they automatically go to like, well, I'm being a hater or what have you. I don't necessarily dislike JJ McCarthy. I just wouldn't like him as a first round pick. If we were taking him in like the 5th round as a developmental guy, I would actually be really on board with that. And I think there's stuff that you can build on with him. However, with him going in the first half of the draft in the first round, you're counting on him to be a franchise cornerstone, and I just don't see it. I haven't seen it this past season with their national title win. I haven't seen it in the year before where he started. I definitely didn't see it when he was just the change of pace quarterback. Excuse me. So when it comes to JJ McCarthy, I am definitely on the thumbs down with him. But tell me what you think. Am I being way off? Am I being too hard? Am I being not hard enough? Let me know in the comments. Now, I always say, fall in love with the team, don't fall in love with the players for this very reason. The Denver Broncos are still $10 million over the cap heading into 2024, and will still need to do some roster management in order to get that number to where it needs to be. So that means they're going to have to look to the current roster and make some cuts. What does that mean? Who could be on the way out? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to give you 3 names that I think could be on the way out. And be prepared, some of these may hurt. So the first name I'm going to throw out, I don't think is getting cut. Actually, I'm like 95% sure he's not getting cut, but that does not preclude him from having a contract restructure, and that will be wide receiver Courtland Sutton. Now, Sutton has already agreed that he is going to come back for 2024. However, at his current cap number, and with his injury history and with his age, it may just not be feasible that he gets brought back at a certain number. Now, I am not a numbers guy. I make that very clear. I don't know how to talk about restructures and what that number means as far as specifically meaning to the cap, but I do know that they may be restructuring his contract in order to free up some cash short term. Now, I am 1000% on board with the team making the decision to bring back Courtland Sutton for at least 1 more year. He's our best offensive weapon. He's our best go up and get it receiver. And with breaking in another quarterback this year, I don't think you can underestimate having a leader like that on the team and also having that offensive production on the team as well. And because I just mentioned his name, the other player that I think could be on the block will be wide receiver Tim Patrick. Now, Tim Patrick was re-signed to a 3-year, $30 million deal when he came up 2 seasons ago. And he has had buzzard's luck when it came to that, when it just comes to injury. First having a knee restructure that he needed to do 2 seasons ago, and then rupturing his Achilles last season. And now, I think Timmy P brings more in intangibles to the team, as far as I think that he's a catalyst on offense. I think he's an offensive leader, and I think that his ability to make plays on third down is one of his best characteristics. However, it's really hard to justify paying a guy that hasn't stepped foot on the field yet. Now, it has been reported that they are looking for a restructure for Patrick, and if that is the case, then I think that does free up some money to where they can still keep him on the team and still see some return on investment for that money. But that also means that if they can't get to that number, I also would not fault them if they decided to move on from Tim. So the third guy that I'll bring will be, oh God, I hate saying this, Justin Simmons. Now, what you're thinking at home is, Adam, that is ridiculous. He is a Pro Bowler. He's a defensive captain. He is one of the heartbeats of this whole team. How could the team realistically move forward without Justin Simmons? And I would agree with you, but he makes a lot of money, and all of his guaranteed money has been paid out. Justin Simmons will also be a free agent next year. Now, before you start freaking out, I don't know that the team is seriously looking at that. To basically, and I'm not saying, before you get mad, this also ties into what the Patriots used to do, and they were adamant it is better to cut a guy a year early than to have him be there a year too long. I love Justin Simmons. That does not mean that he is a slow starter, and this past season he started off slower than usual. You also have to factor in that he's also going to be going on his 3rd contract, and you also have to factor that he's not a Sean Payton guy. He's not a current administration guy. I don't think that means, and again, I want to temper this a little bit and qualify it and say I don't think that this is the direction the team is going, but I will say that it at least is an option for them if they decide to go in this. So we've reached the end of the show, and as always, I just want to thank everybody that gives it, all the love that they think that it needs, I guess. Basically with likes, comments, subscribers, following up with me and just saying like, hey Adam, can I talk to you? Can I chop it up about whatever's going on? And I'm consistently blown away by how this has grown even just within the last year. So as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, buy me presents, and I will see you in a couple weeks. And as always, keep your eye on the ball, and I'll talk to you later.